everybody. Welcome back to the College Down Podcast. Did they get it right? Did the committee get it right? I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Do we agree with the format though?
We'll talk about that too. We'll talk about everything playoffs.
Yeah.
Is Carson Beck alive still? I don't know. We'll find that out.
What?
There's a lot of coaching news going on with the carousel. It's spinning and spinning and spinning. The transfer portal opened up.
Yeah.
There's some basketball news as week 6.
Yeah. Is
The
Bill?
season enters week 6.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we do our pick'ems as always. So, we hope you enjoy it. We hope you watch the episode. We'll see you in there. It's time to start scheduling easier, right?
Is that so?
Oh yeah, no. You and I, we both have too difficult of schedules. I need to ease it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's no way that I can make the playoff if I don't take it easy.
No. Apparently, you just need to have good losses and you'll get in.
Yeah. In a realistic, back to reality here. SMU made the playoff over Alabama. Alabama's 80 went ballistic. It was like, we're just gonna start scheduling easier. It's like, how, man? How? Well, their non-conference schedule. It was garbage this year.
Well, here's what doesn't make sense to me is that Alabama said we're going to start scheduling easier. Is he insinuating that he dictates the SEC schedule? Because their 3 losses this year are to a bad Oklahoma team, a Vanderbilt team, and Tennessee. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, 2 teams are bowl eligible because of Alabama.
Yeah. So Vanderbilt, shockingly, was okay this year, but this is nor here nor there. I personally think the committee got it right. You also had a bit stealer in Clemson beating SMU. So the real case here is like, does SMU deserve to be in over Alabama? And I think looking at it, yes.
I agree as well. I mean, Alabama. Here's the thing: Alabama is going to have more talent than SMU, but the players are not the only reason you win or lose a football game. Coaching is very important, and I know Kalen DeBoer is.
He's a good coach.
He's one of the best coaches in the sport. But the problem is, it's his first season at Alabama. Mm-hmm. It takes time to implement not only a culture but also your system, and just get everyone used to your style of winning. Rhett Lashlee's in year 3. He's had time to do that. Mm-hmm. And he's a very good coach.
Right. I mean, as far as like back on Alabama, it's like you had 3 losses. Like
yeah.
You can have 2 screw ups we founded this year that you can mess up twice in the year. And it's like, okay, you go into Tennessee and you lose to Tennessee. That is quote unquote a good loss, right? But then to drop to at Vanderbilt or at Oklahoma, like those are 2 losses that just shouldn't happen, especially for an Alabama caliber team. And then to whine and complain that you're not in the playoff. If we were back on this 4 team and you had 3 losses, there's no shot you would even be close.
You're not even remotely in the conversation.
At least what I like about this 12-team playoff, I have a lot of issues with it still. But what at least I still like about it is that truly believe that every team that has a shot to win it is in.
Yeah.
I think that's the one nice thing about it. Mm-hmm. Now, the issue I have with it is the seeding of it. I
get it.
I think the 5 seed is the golden mark.
What you're saying, I'm going to guess before you say it.
Go for it.
I'm guessing you think that they should do, the playoffs should do like the NFL does, where you reseed after the wild card round.
No.
Oh, really? Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
So here's what I think is that, the top 4 conference champions get the top 4 seeds. That's what they've decided, right?
Yeah.
And then the 5th one is the 12th seed because usually, historically speaking, we're going to assume that's a group of 5 school.
Yeah, historically speaking, sure.
So that's why they did it that way, right? I personally think it should be like the NCAA tournament for basketball. You win your conference championship, you're in, but it doesn't dictate your seeding. Like you win, you're in. Absolutely, you get your shot. But why does Oregon, as the 1 seed, go undefeated, win all their games right, and they play the winner of Ohio State and Tennessee, whereas the 5 seed Texas, who has 2 losses, both to Georgia, gets to play a 12 seed Clemson and then a 4 seed Arizona State, which according to the seeding are the 2 worst teams in the game, in the thing. Why does Texas get the cakewalk all the way to the semifinals?
I don't think we'll get into that, but
Well, as far as like cakewalk, I mean, would you rather have Arizona State? Would you rather have Arizona State you meet, or would you rather have Oregon or Ohio State or Tennessee? Would you rather play Arizona State or Tennessee or Ohio State? And I think it's a pretty clear one there.
I mean, I think Arizona State's definitely better than people are giving them credit for.
I'm not saying that. I think, don't get me wrong, they're a good ball club and they got in right. But I mean, like, just looking at it, the top 4 teams, statistically speaking, according to the computers, of winning the national championship before the playoff were Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Georgia. 3 of those teams are on one side of the bracket. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, Georgia is in a great spot, too, at the 2 seed. They get the winner of a Notre Dame-Indiana game and then potentially a winner of the Boise State, Penn State, and SMU. A Penn State team that hasn't won any big game, an SMU team that just lost to Clemson, and an Indiana and who hasn't won a big game either, or a Notre Dame who is on fire right now but hasn't really won a big game either. Like, that bottom side of that bracket, too, it's just all lopsided, in my opinion.
I mean, that happens all the time, though, even in the NCAA tournament.
I'm not saying it doesn't, but I'm just saying, like as far as, like, the rankings go, I didn't have an issue with, like, the seeding-wise. Like, when they showed the 1, but then where it got, like, put. Like, the rankings are fine. The seeding is what I have an issue with.
Here's my thought process on that. I think in a perfect world, this is my playoff in a perfect world. 16, well, for FBS, 16 teams, no more, no less. Top 5 conference champs get auto bids, but then the seeding is just based on who is the best teams. That's a perfect world in my opinion.
I think that's fine.
However, and you've seen this with how they laid it out for the 12-team playoff. Yeah. If you do that, the top 4 teams are always going to be Big Ten and SEC teams. Because the committee, it's just, they don't actually rank on who they think are the best teams in a given year. They're just like, oh, who are the 2 best teams in those conferences? Because the top 4 seeds as they rank, the top 4 teams as they rank them, not the top 4 seeds, are Oregon, Georgia, Texas, and Penn State. You really think Penn State's better than everyone else? You really think Texas, who has 1 victory, actually 2 victories, I take that back, 2 victories over teams with winning records, and the only other team with a winning record that they played just waxed them both times, and one of those times without their starting quarterback. Like, I think that if you did, in a perfect world, yes, it's just auto bids, not first round buys or in a 16 seed hosting the first game. But they would screw every conference that's not the Big Ten and the SEC, including Notre Dame. That's what they did. They screwed Notre Dame because they're like, well, we want Penn State and Texas to be up there. It's like, okay, but Notre Dame's on fire.
They are. They're playing really good ball. Now here's a different exercise for you, hypothetically speaking. If this was last year, who are the 4 teams that are in?
Who are the 4 teams that should be in, or who are the 4 teams that are in?
Let's do both.
Okay, 4 teams that should be in: Oregon. I'm trying to remember who all was. Okay, I'm going to say Oregon, Notre Dame. I think. I don't know. There were a lot of losses this year.
Exactly.
Oregon. I'm going to say Oregon, Notre Dame, Georgia.
Do you put in a 1-loss Penn State or an Ohio State with 2 losses, but they beat Penn State?
I would put Arizona State in over those 2.
You're joking.
No, I'm not. Arizona State is definitely better than people are giving them credit for.
A 2-loss Arizona State is better than
over a 2-loss
Ohio State,
who didn't make their conference championship game.
And a 1-loss Penn State.
Penn State, they have 2 losses with the conference championship. I think that the games have to matter, and Arizona State played a tougher schedule than Penn State.
But, and no Boise State, huh? Boise State.
I know you're right. Boise.
They're one loss to.
I would put Boise in over.
They lost by 3 points to a undefeated Oregon team.
Also, fun fact for you: Boise State has the 10th strength of schedule, 10th ranked strength of schedule according to the FBI.
Interesting.
I think the FBI is not a perfect system. I think I've talked about this. It's not a perfect system, but it's the best analytical ratings that football has. I still think it's flawed. I think it is slightly biased towards the SEC and the Big Ten.
I'm trying to look at their out of conference. I mean, their out of conference is just Oregon and Washington State. They play Portland State
and Oregon State. Georgia Southern ended up being a good team. Georgia Southern ended up being a good team in the Sun Belt. And also they played UNLV twice. UNLV has proved that they are a good team this year.
They are. They're decent.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't have an issue with the teams I got in. I think the committee got it right for the teams I got in and the way the rules are played.
Yeah, for the most part.
Like, is there any team that should have gotten in that didn't get in?
I think that BYU is getting the short end of the stick. I understand that they lost 2 games in a row late, which is not preferred. But I just think that BYU. Okay, I'll say this. I think I agree with you. I will say this. I don't think Alabama should have been the first team out. I think it should have. But as far as the rankings go, they're the first team out.
Okay.
I think the first team out should have been one of 2 teams, BYU or SMU. Not SMU. Sorry, South Carolina. And then honestly, Miami over Alabama. Like I've heard so many like SEC homers on ESPN being like, I mean, they're not even considering strength of schedule. They're just going off a win-loss record and nothing else. I'm like, okay, if that's actually true, then A, Army's in the playoff. B, BYU and Miami are out before Alabama. Like, they're higher in the pecking order. It's not just about record.
I do wonder, so you think the committee got it right as far as, like, the 12 best teams that got in, according to the rules?
I mean, yeah, sure. I think BYU is.
Like who out of the non automatic bidders, who would you put in BYU in over?
I mean, the instinct is Indiana, just because I think Indiana is
not SMU. SMU is a lower seed.
No, I know, but SMU is good. I think SMU has a better mix of coaching and talent than Indiana right now. I think Indiana is all coaching, which is extremely important. I think a lot of people overlook coaching for some reason because Indiana is in because of their coaching. Kurt Cignetti is one of the best coaches in the sport. But I mean, I don't know. I think Indiana deserves to be in over BYU, even though BYU had a significantly tougher schedule. And all of a sudden, I'm not even going off a strength of schedule. I'm going off a strength of record. My bad. That changes some things.
That changes it a lot.
Yeah.
Georgia had the hardest schedule this year.
Georgia did have a tough schedule. I think it overrates SEC and Big Ten teams because you have to go down to Florida State to be the first non-SEC Big Ten team in strength of schedule. And I just don't agree with that.
Well,
I also don't think Florida State's schedule was like that hard.
One question for you. Who do you think won the seeding? Who do you think who has the easiest path and who has the hardest path?
Easiest path to what? The semis?
To win it all?
Or to win it all. Okay.
Looking at the playoff, who do you like their chances? And because personally, I think it's Georgia who has the best route.
I don't.
I think Ohio State or Tennessee have a rough go. I think that Ohio State-Tennessee game is going to be a good game. That's what I think. I think Georgia's got it easy.
Who has the easiest route? In my opinion, it's Penn State.
Really?
Yes. I think Penn State has the easiest route to the national championship game. I agree with you on this side of the bracket because I think Notre Dame is the second easiest route.
Really?
Yep.
You think Notre Dame's that much better than Georgia right now?
I think Georgia isn't going to have the quarterback.
That is an interesting aspect.
Because, I mean, let's talk about that right now.
Yeah.
Carson Beck got hurt in that game against Texas in the SEC
He did
championship.
hand off the winning touchdown.
Yeah, but did you see him walking out there?
I did.
Look, Teddy Bridgewater, like 10 years ago, got hurt at Louisville. He hurt his arm. He basically couldn't grip it. So he was getting snaps, and he was, with his left hand, he was like twisting it just because he couldn't grip the ball. And so that's what happened. They sent him out there because they were like, well, we want Carson Beck to be on the field for the game-winning touchdown. Which, if you're Texas, Carson Beck comes trotting out, I'm stacking the box. I'm putting 11 dudes in the box.
They did. They stacked the box. And then, but the other thing that happened in that game is that their backup quarterback took a hit. It was a legal hit. Took a massive hit, and his helmet popped off. So
I saw that.
He had to go out for a snap, and then it just so happened that the next snap was the winning touchdown.
I saw that hit. That man was not okay.
It was a wicked hit.
Did you see him like stumbling around after that?
I did not.
It was bad. It was bad, and it's crazy that was legal.
Yeah. Well, because it's the quarterback ducked his head. Quarterback his head. But yeah.
I just mean because of how big a hit.
All right. So Penn State has the easiest route. Who has
in
the
my
hardest
opinion,
route?
The hardest route?
I think it's Tennessee or Ohio State.
I think it's Ohio State. I think Ohio State is the hardest route.
I mean, they do have the home game there against Tennessee.
They have the home game, but Tennessee provides a very difficult matchup for them. That's a very difficult matchup because Tennessee's defensive line is fantastic. As much as I think Tennessee is a little bit overrated, honestly, yeah, I think Tennessee is overrated. However, their defensive line is fantastic. Nico has potential. If he can have if Nico can put it together for a playoff run, Tennessee can win the national championship. Because I think they have that good of a defense. And the running game is good. But the problem is, Nico has been, at times this season, you're like, oh, that's a freshman. Okay. All right. It doesn't matter he's a redshirt freshman. Sometimes you're like, okay, that guy, he needs to learn.
Also, another thing to note about Georgia and their quarterback situation, Carson Beck was out for half the game. So they did win the game with their backup, more or less.
I think that says more about Texas.
You think?
Yes.
I mean, Texas has won every game that they've come to face, except for Georgia.
Yeah, I know. I think it says more about Texas.
Okay.
I look, I've been on this all year. I think the SEC is so much weaker than people are giving it credit for. So I think a lot of these records, I mean, outside of the top teams. So a lot of these games against non-top teams in the SEC are just gimmies.
I gotcha. Okay.
All right. What else we got? What else? We want to talk about the other games?
Yeah.
So the other conference championship games, Jacksonville State waxed the floor with
that
WKU.
Friday night game wasn't even close. After losing to them the week prior.
I was so afraid this was going to be just a garbage championship week because all three games on Friday were not good.
No, they weren't.
They were all handily won by who won them, which was Jacksonville State in CUSA, Boise State in the Mountain West, and then Army over Tulane in the American.
Yep.
And then the first two games of Saturday, which is the Big 12 championship and the MAC championship, Arizona State won easily. Ohio won the MAC easily. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be the worst championship weekend for football.
Oh boy, did the Big Ten and SEC save that.
And the ACC, yeah. Those three games were very good.
It was great. First time ever in the history of the SEC championship game for it to go to overtime.
I mean, it's only 20 games. That's not that shocking.
Yeah, first time.
I don't think it's that crazy that wow, conference championships games weren't a thing until the 90s.
And now they are, and this is the first time it's happened. It's kind of cool.
It's cool, but I don't think it's that shocking.
It's shocking. I tell you, shocking.
I don't know. That's my take on it.
It's cool.
Yeah. Anyway, those I think the ones we didn't mention, Marshall beat Louisiana in the Sun Belt, and Oregon beat Penn State. But those are the games.
Yeah.
It was an okay championship weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, anything else you want to talk about when it comes to the playoff? Or
Nah, I've said my piece there.
I feel like I have. I mean, let's real quick. Let's give who we think are gonna who's gonna win the playoff. Who you got right now?
Right now,
Mm-hmm.
Oregon's the team to beat.
Yeah, I'm going with Oregon as well.
Oregon's the team to beat.
Yeah. That was, I think, was that both of our preseason national champion
I
picks?
think so. I think we both had Oregon. I think.
That'd be crazy if we got it right 2 years in a row. Because last year we both had Michigan.
Did we?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
We'll see.
It was just based off of transfer portal and and
Transfer portal, who they had coming back, and the coaching staff.
basically, yeah.
Yeah. So the Heisman finalists have been announced.
They have.
Yeah. It's Ashton Genty, Travis Hunter, Shador Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel.
Yep.
Those are the four going to New York.
It's really two competing for it.
Yeah. I think they just didn't want two people going to New York.
Well, they always have four.
No, they don't. They've had three in the past.
Really?
Yeah. So they've had three in the past. They've had five in the past. It depends on. It all
Shador
depends.
Made it? It wasn't Cam Ward?
No, I thought it was Shador. I could be
I thought it was Cam Ward.
double check that for me because I thought it was Shador. Yeah, they invite however many people to.
Yeah, it's Cam Ward.
Oh, is it Cam Ward? Okay, that's my bad. That is my bad. It's Cam Ward, not Shador Sanders. They invite however many people to New York as they think have a legitimate shot at being competitive. However,
It's a
everyone
two-horse
knows.
race.
Yeah, everyone knows it's a 2-horse race, and I think it would probably be. I don't know if it's embarrassing to like bring in just two people for the Heisman.
No.
And so I don't know. For whatever reason, they don't want to do it.
It just feels like two is like head to head versus, whereas 3 or 4 is like
Yeah, 3 to 5 is more of like it's anyone's.
yeah, but let's be real here. It's probably Genty.
I think
It's got to be Genty, right?
Genty should win. He should win. He's got I think he's like just over 100 yards short of Barry Sanders' record. He's got 29 rushing touchdowns on the year. He should easily win the Heisman. By the way, if we're going off of quarters missed, like quarters not played, Ashton Genty has not played in 8 quarters this season. That's 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
He's got all this. He's put up all these stats in 2 games, which pretty much matches Barry Sanders. Because Barry Sanders did everything he did in 11 games.
Mm-hmm. Another record to note, I doubt it's going to get caught, but after Penn State, Oregon, Dylan Gabriel, it could get caught with the
No, I don't think it will.
He is like 700 yards off of Case Keenum for all-time passing yards.
Actually, yeah, I think it will. Because I think they'll play at least 2 games.
So, I mean, like, it's definitely possible. But that's another thing to note. But,
Dylan Gabriel also set the record for most career passing touchdowns and most career starts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why he's here. He's the obligatory, like, career candidate.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, they invited A.J. McCarron one year to to New York just because it was like, oh, he had a really good career at
It's like
Alabama.
Like Dylan Gabriel's had what five good seasons between Oklahoma and Oregon
And USC. Or UCF.
UCF, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Hey, I mean, he threw the game-winning touchdown for Louisville.
yeah. Felt good about that, didn't you?
I did. If you've never seen that, look up the Jalen Alderman pick 6. One of the most exciting plays I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, so it's definitely back on the Heisman stuff. It's Ashton Genty, though.
I think it should be. I think Travis Hunter's going to win.
Really?
I don't think he should, but I think he's going to.
I think the Oregon Duck on the Pat McAfee show said it best. He had a little white.
Snaps aren't a stat.
Snaps is not a stat.
Also, another thing that stands out to me, which I'm not really faulting Colorado for doing this because everyone does this. LSU did this last year with Jaden Daniels. But Colorado, at the end of the year, when they knew Travis Hunter was a legit contender for the Heisman, they just started force-feeding him the ball. Against Oklahoma State, when they were up by like 40, they were still throwing them 40-yard bombs.
Yep.
Ashton Jeanty, on the other hand, because he's getting a ton of carries, but the thing is, Boise State needs to give him the ball that much to have a chance to win.
Yeah.
But the thing is, once they get in the red zone, once they get on the goal line, there have been so many plays where they will literally just fake it to Ashton Jeanty and then run another play and score. So they're using Ashton Jeanty as a decoy, and they've scored a number of times off of that. So if you want to go off of something that's not a stat, how many times have they scored using Jeanty as a decoy?
Here's a stat for you. Is that Colorado lost their last 2 games. They controlled their own destiny to get into the playoffs, and they lost. Boise State has stayed consistent throughout the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
The entire season. They went into Oregon, and I think have the closest margin of loss, if there is such a thing.
No, I think Ohio State lost by 1 point.
1 point?
Yeah, and they lost by 3.
I'm
Still, losing to Oregon, who is
At
the
Oregon.
clear number 1 team in the country, by only 3 in Autzen Stadium, which is
It's a nice
one of the craziest environments. People say I've never been to Oregon.
No.
That's impressive.
It is impressive. It's a very, 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 very well done by Boise State and
Yeah.
Ashton Jeanty.
And-
It really should just go to him.
And had the defense stepped up, Ashton Jeanty would have gotten the game-winning touchdown.
Also, they don't give the Heisman winner to like losers, and no one here is a loser by any stretch of the imagination. But it's also like
In
you
the
have to win games to win the Heisman.
in the modern era, though, 3 losses is the most amount, the highest number of losses you can get and still win the
And that
Heisman.
was what Lamar.
Lamar's done it. Other schools have done it. It's not just Lamar. But 3 in the modern era is the most number of losses you can get, and Colorado is at 9-3. Fun fact: Tim Brown at Notre Dame, he won the Heisman when Notre Dame went 6-6.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about some home cooking?
Yeah.
Yeah. That man did not deserve the Heisman that year.
Okay.
But, yeah, that's what I think. I think Hunter's going to win. I think Jeanty deserves it. Let's move on to coaching talk.
Let's do it.
So, there's some crazy ones.
There is.
Central Florida,
Yep.
they hired Scott Frost
The old Nebraska coach?
and the old Central Florida coach.
What?
He was the guy that took him to 13-0. And that everyone was like, they should be in the playoff.
Oh, he was that.
Yeah, he's their coach then.
He's back.
He's back, baby. This is an interesting hire. They gave him 5 years. I mean, he knows the area.
Yeah, if he can, I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If you know how to do it, try to do it again. Or was it just he found lightning in a bottle that 1 year?
I don't know.
We'll see.
Because, he set up he set up Central Florida for the rest of the time that they were in the American.
Yeah, they were 13-0, and then they went on. They won that bowl game against Auburn, I believe, that year.
Yeah, I think so. Was it the Sugar Bowl?
It was something like that. I'll look it up. But they went undefeated that year.
Yeah. I mean, also, when he took that job in Nebraska, he's like, I'm still coaching. I'm not going to leave for the bowl game. Which is, in this day and age, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did hear someone say it best.
It was against 2017
Peach Bowl.
Peach Bowl against
Peach
Auburn.
Bowl against Auburn.
Yep.
It was said best by a guy on CBS. We're talking about Scott Frost going back to Central Florida. And they said, how much does Central Florida need to readjust their expectations now that they're in a power conference? Because Scott Frost, he kind of set the model for Central Florida, which is go after the scraps in state that Florida and Florida State and Miami don't want, because it's still Florida.
It's still Florida talent.
The third tier guys in Florida are still better than the top tier guys in Oklahoma and Kentucky.
Yeah.
So that was the model, and it proved to have immediate success at the Group of 5 level. It's taken a little longer now that they're in the Big 12. And so how much do they need to readjust expectations? Because I think Scott Frost is a good coach. I think unfortunately at Nebraska, he built a little bit of a culture of like, oh, we lose close games. And that's still persisted a little bit. Like, they have a terrible record in one-score games under Matt Rule. And Matt Rule's a really good coach. And so I just think Scott Frost he's a good coach, but Central Florida needs time to build up their arsenal of
get
players.
Time with him. He's gonna get his 3 to 4 years to get it right and get it flowing.
Yeah, I think this is a good hire.
I also, it is a great hire. I mean, I also think like within the Big 12 at least, comparatively to the other Big 4 conferences,
it's open.
It's completely open. There is not a single team in the Big 12 that is just out talenting teams.
Yeah, I thought Utah was going to be that.
They are not. Oklahoma State. I mean, like Utah and Oklahoma State last year, top of the division. Now this year, bottom of the division.
Well,
it can.
Utah was in the Pac-12.
Right. But to both go from conference championship games to now being at the bottom feeders, it's quite a drastic change.
Yeah.
So I definitely think in the Big 12, it's open. Like, there's not a team year in and year out that's consistently at the top like you have in the ACC, SEC, or the
I think Kansas State is under Chris Kleiman. They're consistently up there, but I agree that they're not consistently a top 2 team every year.
It's not like you have to be a certain dynasty or a certain brand, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State.
I mean,
Michigan
the
or
2
Penn
biggest
State.
brands in the Big 12 are Kansas State and Oklahoma State.
Right. And one's at the very, very bottom this year.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. The other hiring news, Purdue hired Barry Odom.
Who?
Barry Odom is from UNLV.
UNLV's head coach?
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, so I think that's a good hire for Purdue. Yeah, I think it's a good hire. It's interesting that they had such success with Jeff Brom, who is an offensive guy, and then they bring in Ryan Walters, who is a defensive guy, and it just immediately falls off the tracks. And they stick with the defensive guy because Barry Odom's a defensive guy. So, yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting. I think he's a good coach. I think Purdue is a really, really difficult place to win at. But I don't know. I think it's a good hire, but we'll see. One that shocked me is that Utah State. This is not a Power 4 school, but Utah State hired Bronco Mendenhall after he was at New Mexico for just 1 year. Mm-hmm. They went 5-7 in that 1 year, I believe, and they hired Utah. They hired him. Utah State hired him from New Mexico. This was really interesting to me, and then I looked up Bronco Mendenhall. He's from Utah.
Huh.
So this is just him going home. He was BYU's coach for a very, very long time.
Oh, okay.
He is a good coach. He was Virginia's coach for a while. Virginia actually went 9-3 and made the ACC championship game 1 year.
Man. I truly want to know who Utah State's athletic director is.
We can just look it up.
Because I personally want him at my school. This athletic director for the past at least 3 years has had to make hires for their basketball team and has not missed.
He's made some good hires.
Or she, we should say.
Diana Sabo. I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
Well, I mean, like, who has she hired from Utah State? It's been Danny Sprinkle.
Yeah, Danny Sprinkle. The guy who they have now, he's doing a good job.
I mean, like, there's 3 really good coaches.
Yeah, and they just brought Bronco Mendenhall back, who Mendenhall is a good coach.
Ryan Odom, Danny Sprinkle, and now Gerard Calhoun. All fantastic. Because I think Ryan Odom is at an A-10 school now?
Probably.
VCU.
Yeah, VCU. And VCU's, they're playing well.
Yeah, so, I mean, good on her. I mean, if you're looking for more money.
Well, I mean, Louisville just extended Josh Hurd through 2030.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's some of the more concrete coaching news. Other coaching news. This one's going to be, I think it's going to come out today as of recording this. We're recording on Tuesday. Jacksonville State has scheduled a team meeting. So I think Rich Rod's going back to West Virginia. That's what I think is happening. Scott Frost had his reunion at UCF. I think Rich Rod's having his reunion with West Virginia.
Rich Rod, it was a matter of time before he was going to move up, but
back to West Virginia, where you
they were a really good team under him.
Yeah, no, that is Rich Rod's best tenure as a head coach is when he was at West Virginia.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's funny because when he got hired at Michigan, the athletic director hired a search firm, and the results they came back with, they were like, we think the best guy for this job is Rich Rodriguez. However, you need to give him like 5 to 6 years because the style that he coaches, the style that he wants his teams to play, is completely different than anything that any school in the Big Ten has ever done. And so if you want him and you want him to be successful here, you need to give him at least 5 years. And you can't even evaluate him until after that 4th year. He got fired after 3 years. Which, would he have had success at Michigan? I don't know. But
it's also like at a school like that and a prestige like that, not to say that you can't be mediocre, but there has to be some success on the field to begin with.
Yeah. And
You're
it's
expected to win games early.
It's a different it was a different time back then.
Yeah.
I mean,
analytics aren't what they were.
Well, also leashes are shorter now.
Yeah.
And for good reason. You know, you can kind of flip a team with the portal.
Yep.
Other news is Bill Belichick going to North Carolina?
It's wild if he does.
So
UNC's getting rid of one 6-year-old coach to get another 6-year-old coach?
They're getting rid of a 60-year-old coach to get a 70-year-old coach. Belichick is 72.
Could you imagine sitting across the couch and you're being recruited as a 17-year-old and Bill Belichick's in your house recruiting you? I just don't see it.
He's clearly trying to make his pitch on the Pat McAfee show. I've seen him talk.
Oh, he interviewed for it.
Oh, he's interviewed multiple times. They've had multiple interviews.
Like there's no question about the resume. It's just like it's everything that the NFL doesn't have that college football does have. I wonder if he'll be good at.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is that like?
It's like, does Bill Belichick really want to go out and look at a high school game and talk to a recruit and give promises and say, and Bill Belichick is not going to butter up a recruit by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, that was his method as a GM in the NFL. It's like
he's like, you take a pay cut here because we win here.
That, and also he apparently he would bring like binders full of like data on players, like even in like contract extension negotiations with his own guys. He would be like, you're bad at doing this and this and this. That's why we're not going to pay you what you want. And it would work.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you can go get money there, or you could win a Super Bowl and take this money here. And that's another pitch that's worth it there. Whereas it's like UNC, it's like, I just don't see. And then there's also the other argument is that Tom Brady is what did it for him. Because Tom Brady was able to win at the Buccaneers, whereas Bill Belichick was not able to win without Tom Brady.
I mean, my view on it is I think it was a symbiotic relationship between the two. I think they both benefit each other. I think the reason Tom Brady is seen as better as Peyton Manning is because Peyton Manning didn't have Bill Belichick.
That is a great take.
Yeah. It's like the reason that I don't know. This is the first coach that came to mind, so I don't know. It's probably just because it's that same BB. But Brian Billick never had a Tom Brady, never had a Peyton Manning. His guy was Trent Dilfer.
There you go. Good old Trent Dilfer.
Won him a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Go Ravens. But, like, a good coach needs a good quarterback, and a good quarterback needs a good coach. That's what also, sticking with the NFL, Justin Herbert, he's just now got a good coach.
Yeah.
I think he's had 2 coaches prior. What's the dude? Staley?
Yeah.
Yeah, he sucked. And then Anthony something. Is Anthony Lynn?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, the other guy, he was okay. But Bill Belichick, if he's able to actually recruit both high schoolers and the portal, dangerous. You're going to get him for like 8 years. He's going to be dangerous.
You think he's going to coach till he's 80?
I think that man will never die. I think he's fueled on hate and rage.
Hey, the good news is that his girlfriend can attend college while he coaches, so that's the
Yeah,
only thing
that's
that's going for it.
Exactly.
But the other weird thing, though, is that, like, can he recruit?
I know that's the question mark.
It's like, has he ever been in a college?
If you're
Has he ever I know he was
I mean,
with the
look it up.
Browns, and he did, like, that brief day with the Jets.
I mean, he was Bill Parcells' like protege.
In, like, at the Giants.
Not just the Giants. He followed them all over. But like, so that's if you're UNC, if you're serious about hiring Bill Belichick, then you've got to. No, he's never been in college. He has only ever been in the NFL.
I wonder
If you're serious about hiring Belichick, you have to, in those meetings, those interviews that you're having with him, you have to just grill him on every single detail of like how do you recruit? How would you recruit? Who do you recruit? Like what's your stance on NIL? Like how are you going to use it? How are you going to implement it? You need to know everything when it comes to recruiting, because I feel like
I think
you're probably fine as far as the X's and O's go.
X's and O's will be fine. All the stuff on the field he'll chew out a 16 and 18-year-old without hesitation. All that stuff, right? Like, I think he won't have an issue with like the payment structures or anything. Is like because he's gonna be like, this is a job. You all are doing a job. You all are getting paid. You know, like I don't think there's any issues with that. It's a fact of the matter of like getting guys in the door who want to come play for you, because I'm not gonna lie, I have a very hard time believing that Bill Belichick is gonna go ooh and ah and here's all the bells and whistles that you could ever want. He's gonna be like, you come here to play football.
Yeah, I think that that feels like more of the approach that he would take.
I don't understand. I also think like there might be a disconnect between an 18-year-old recruit and a 72-year-old who's been in the NFL since the 70s.
But there also might be that sense of like he goes and meets with some 17-year-old kid in Georgia. You know, he talks to him. He's like, he gives him his pitch. He leaves. The 17-year-old's like, I don't know. And then the 17-year-old's dad is like, that dude has more Super Bowl rings than any coach in NFL history.
Right.
He has more Super Bowl appearances as well.
Oh.
You're going to give this guy a look because he is one of the best coaches to ever live.
Yeah.
And so
There's no hesitation about that.
yeah, I think his best asset as a recruiter is his ability to coach and his history as a coach.
His pedigree.
Yes. Here's the thing. Here's the other thing when it comes to UNC. People that are close to the situation say that coaching search is a train wreck right now. One of the guys that they were looking at was Barry Odom. He's already off the table. John Sumrall was one of their major guys they were looking at. He's not interested anymore. Arthur Smith interviewed for the job, and then he was like, yeah, I'm not interested. I'm good. They're kind of just going down the list, and it feels like they're going to settle on Belichick just because it's like, okay, I don't know, we missed out.
It's just one of those where, can he recruit? Because if he can, watch out.
Yes. If he can't,
but if he can't,
then they're going to, it's just Mac Brown 2.0. Like, they're going to have like 6-6, 7-5 years.
And then there is also another question of, people in the NFL always talk about the gap between college and the NFL. Can you run NFL defense and offense in college and be successful? Because
it's difficult.
There is the gimmicky stuff that works in college. Why? Because you don't necessarily have the talent to run a pro-style defense or offense.
Yeah, it's a little bit more just like find your man and then do your job.
It's like we throw this ball. Why? Because I have a quarterback that can air it out 50 yards down the field and make that throw, so that's available in the offense.
Yeah.
Like how much of the playbook shrinks on both sides of the ball. You know?
Yeah, no, I mean, we saw Louisville this year tried to run a very complex defense, and then it just didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, constantly through the first, like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 games for Louisville, the players were, like, screaming at each other, trying to, like, figure out the play that they're running, and then, oh, the ball snapped. Okay, just try to do something. And they would get burned because they were doing that. And then they had to simplify the defense. Schematically, a very, very complex defense, in my opinion, that's the way to go. You want to try to confuse an opponent as much as you possibly can.
Right.
Even if like the actual schemes, I think, are like a little simplistic. If you get them. If the pre-snap reads are like difficult to make, and if you're able to get the offense like thinking about it for 2 seconds after the ball snapped, well, plays don't last very long in the NFL. You just want that like moment of hesitation to allow the defense to catch up. And so, but yeah, you're right. I don't know if that works in college, and that's what he has historically done in the NFL.
That's the other aspect, and it's like he doesn't know another way around it. So it's like it's probably going to be that way.
Yeah.
So those are all the questions I have as the AD trying to make a hire, and it's like age disconnect, the recruiting. Can he do that? Has he ever done that? Does he know how to do it? And then the style of play that they're going to play, and can it work at that talent level? Because there's levels to this game. You're not going to do – it's like in Pee Wee, you don't throw the ball. Why? Because you can't lift the arm, throw the ball over your pads very well.
Yeah.
Whereas in high school, you do that. You know, like it's there's levels to
I mean, he's a good coach. I think he could adjust for that type of thing, but like – we'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see. If they don't go for Belichick, who do you think they should go after?
I don't know who would be out there that's available.
I say Jamie Chadwell, Liberty's coach. I think Jamie Chadwell's a really, really good coach.
He is a good coach. Because it's like for UNC, it's like who's the best of the group of 5.
Yeah.
Would Boise State's coach want to go?
That guy, I wouldn't. Here's the thing. I wouldn't look at that guy yet.
Because he's just got talent.
He's been there for a year and a half, and his coaching record is really, really good for a year and a half. But he's also got Ashton Genty.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens when Ashton Genty's gone.
All right.
The final bit of coaching news. This is not. This doesn't have to do with the carousel. But Mike Gundy, he took a pay cut.
Mm-hmm.
And by all reports, that pay cut was not necessarily voluntary. So the pay cut will not only lower his salary from $7.75 million to whatever they agree upon, but it also is going to lower his buyout. His buyout is roughly $25 million. I think it's like 25.3, something like that. That's not the biggest vote of confidence. He's under contract until 2028. In 2020, he did take a pay cut of $1 million to his salary. He ended up getting an extension and a raise that came along with that because he did so well, especially last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is very one-sided because ESPN was also reporting that if he did not agree to the pay cut, that they were going to fire him with cause.
I wonder what the cause would have been.
No clue. I don't think no one seems to know what the cause would have been, but they would have tried to fire him with cause.
Because I was going to say, if they have cause, that is quite a power trip and like position for Mike Gundy to be in, where he's basically, they're like, yeah, you're good at football and X's and O's, traditionally speaking. This year, besides the point, but like, they're like, yeah, you're a really good coach, but then like usually the coach has a hand where it's like, yeah, fire me. Where do you want? What door do you want me to leave? I'll take the buyout. Like, you know.
Yeah, I mean he's an Oklahoma State alum, and he's the second longest tenured coach in college football right now. So I think there's a sentimental attachment to the place that he doesn't. Yeah, obviously he's not going to get in the standoff of like, give me the 25.
He's been coaching at Oklahoma State as long as I've known what college football is.
I believe this was his 20th year.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. The only other coach that's been at their school for longer is Kyle Whittingham.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it also just seems very fickle by the like Oklahoma State athletic department, because it's like he get you to the conference championship. Did they win their conference championship?
No, they lost to Texas.
Right. So they get to the conference championship game, and then they suck this year.
Yeah.
And then so they give him a pay cut. It's like, it seems like going from here on out, it feels like he's like on a 1-year contract. Because like if he does
That's exactly what it feels like.
So it's like if he does this again, he's gone. But then if he does well again next year, maybe he buys another year of time. You know, it's like
I think
it doesn't seem like a healthy situation.
No, not at all. Here's what it feels like to me.
Okay.
It feels like Oklahoma State is kind of done with him. That they're waiting for one of two things to happen: for him to have a bad enough year to where they can fire him, or for him to be good enough to ride out through his contract, which goes through 2028, and then not extend him and find a new coach. Mm-hmm. I think, to me, those are the only two things that happen.
There's got to be something going on behind the scenes.
Another thing is that during COVID, he was seen, like there was a picture of him where he was wearing a One America News shirt, which, if you don't know, not to get into politics, but if you don't know what One America News is, it's like the even further right version of Fox News. And because of that, there was very, very, very nearly like a mass exodus from Oklahoma State. Like a ton of his players saw that and were like, okay, I'm going to transfer. I'm not playing for you. But he was able to talk them all off the ledge. And that was actually the genesis for them, for Oklahoma State forcing him into a pay cut the first time. I think that's part of it. I don't think that's the whole thing. I think performance is a factor because over the last, I think 4 years, Oklahoma State has been just crazy highs and then crazy lows. They went 11-1 one year, and then the very next year they went 7-6. Last year they went 10-4. It was either 10-4 or 9-5. I don't know if they won their bowl game or not. And then this year they're 3-9, and they're just terrible. They're so bad. I just think that the university is kind of done with the inconsistency. Yeah, he's an older coach. He's an old coach. He's an old dog.
Yeah, he is.
Can you teach him new tricks? I don't know if he can.
I think they're stuck in their ways at that point.
Yeah. Okay. That was stupid on my part. Anyway, let's talk about FCS playoffs. We'll do this real quick. FCS playoffs, bowl games, and then transfer portal. And then we'll move on to basketball and then our pickups. We forgot about the FCS playoffs. They started a couple weeks ago. We forgot about them. We'll just give you a recap as of now.
The top 8 seeds are in the quarterfinals.
There's not really much going on. There were 2 upsets in the first round. After the first round, in the second round, there were 0 upsets. It's not really. It's kind of a chalky.
The 9 and 16 lost the first round, but the top 8 teams are in the quarterfinals, and that's what is expected. Good on the seeding by whoever does it.
Yeah, at the selection committee.
Yeah.
So we'll get to these are actually going to be part of our pick'ems this week. But the teams are, so Montana State is the number 1 seed. They're the only undefeated team in the FCS.
Yep.
They're very good. They're very good this year.
Hence the 1 seed.
Yes. North Dakota State having a bounce back season. They're the number 2 seed.
As expected.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally one of the powerhouses of the FCS.
Traditionally the powerhouse.
Yep.
Them
and South Dakota State.
Yeah. Which actually South Dakota State only has 2 championships.
Oh.
And they're the last 2 championships. Do you know that?
No. But as of recently, they have been. Wow.
Yeah, so South Dakota State is the number 3 seed.
Mm-hmm.
They're good. I mean, obviously they're the 3 seed, but they're not as good as they were last year. Last year they were far and away the best team.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even close. They are not this year. They are currently, as it stands, I believe 11-2, and that includes their win over Montana in the playoff. Which, by the way, South Dakota State Montana, that was a national championship last game.
Yeah, it was.
So that was a national championship rematch.
Huh.
The committee does this
Quite
in
an early round matchup.
Well, also Montana they had a huge fall off from where they were last year.
They pulled a Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, literally in last year's FCS tournament, South Dakota State was the number 1 seed, Montana was the number 2 seed, and they met in the national championship.
Yeah, there you go.
And then the 4 seed is South Dakota. South Dakota actually got the 4 seed because they upset North Dakota State on the final week of the regular season.
Oh, there you go.
Big win for them. The other teams in the field are UC Davis, Incarnate Word, Mercer, and Idaho.
There you go.
All ranked teams, top 8. We'll be doing the pick'ems there, but we just completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
We were busy. We had finals.
Yeah, I know, right?
Anyway, let's get to the bowl games. Are there any bowl games that non-playoff bowl games that stand out to you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The Alamo Bowl.
Alamo Bowl.
It is Colorado BYU. It is a conference bowl game.
Yeah, I know. I saw that one.
That is the strangest thing to me. The fact that we are at the point in time where conferences are so big that they don't meet each other in the regular season. So you get to play someone within your own conference. I honestly hate the fact that
I hate it too.
BYU and Colorado are playing each other.
I hate it too.
Because it's like, a bowl game's supposed to be like, we're playing this team that we'll never get to play.
Yep.
We'll get to play. Louisville gets to play the USC. Louisville's playing Washington this year. It's fun. It's exciting. It's all this other stuff. But BYU, Colorado, like, don't get me wrong. I think it'll be a very good bowl game.
Oh, it's going to be extremely fun.
Like, I think it'll be a very close, competitive game. It's the game that I was hoping for the Big 12 championship. That just didn't happen.
Huh.
This is like a consolation third, fourth place.
It kind of feels like it, yeah.
It's what it is. It is a bronze medal Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And there's another one.
And they're playing it in Texas too, so that's funny.
It's in the Alamo. It's the Alamo Bowl. Yeah.
Do they play it in San Antonio?
Yeah, San Antonio. Yeah, it's in San Antonio.
San Antonio, I'm telling you, they need to host a Super
There's
Bowl.
another big time ranked game. I just can't think of it. It's like Miami,
Miami, Iowa State, that's in the Pop-Tart Bowl.
I think that'd be a fun one too. But other than that, I'm not really.
I don't think that game's going to be close. I think Miami's going to dog walk Iowa State.
It's only a point favorite.
I know, but I just think Miami's going to roll them.
Like, those are like the only two that I saw from a quick glance. I was like, yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the Alamo Bowl and how it's stupid that conferences are so big that 2 conference opponents are meeting in a bowl game.
Yeah.
Louisville is in the Sun Bowl playing Washington, who is a Big Ten team.
Yeah.
Stupid. But there was one projection at one point that saw Louisville playing Cal in the Sun Bowl, which is an ACC matchup.
I hate it.
It is stupid. It's incredibly stupid. Like,
what's the point?
How is this really what we've become?
18-team conferences, and then you play bowl games within the conference teams that you didn't play that you wish you could have played. It's dumb.
It's incredibly stupid. I mean, are there any other bowl games that stand out to you?
No, it was really just the Alamo that, off of first glance, that I was just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I saw. I think on an immediate first glance, it looks interesting that Memphis and West Virginia play each other. But then I'm like, wait a minute, West Virginia sucks this year.
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia sucks. I also think Memphis is kind of overrated.
We'll see.
I have not been super high on Memphis all year, but that's just me. Tulane and Florida play. That's a really interesting one in the Gasparilla Bowl.
Also, the sad part about it is that for my bowl game, I won't be watching it. Louisville, Washington. It's on New Year's Day.
Oh, you're gonna be working, aren't you?
No, I will be watching the playoff.
Oh, you're not. Oh, okay. I will be watching Louisville, Washington.
Because I mean, like it's the Pop-Tart Bowl's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Alabama,
I heard someone say they were excited for Iowa, Missouri. I think that's going to be one of the most boring games.
Iowa, Missouri is going to be an exciting game.
Yeah, no way. In the Music City Bowl, that's going to be an awful game.
You know what's going to be miserable is that I'm going to turn on that game and not realize which team is which, and then
South Carolina, Illinois are two teams with good records.
That'd be a fun one. I think South Carolina will roll though, but
Duke, Ole Miss. Duke got a big hit because this is a good transition, but Malik Murphy just put his name in the portal.
Again? Huh.
Yeah, after having a good year at Duke, he's put his name in the portal. So let's talk about the portal. It's open.
I didn't even know.
It opened officially on Monday, which is yesterday as of recording this. It was open for graduate transfers as soon as the regular season ended, which was always an interesting moment because then you get to. So it opened for graduate transfers, and then I look at some of the people that are in before it officially opens, and I'm like, wait a minute, they're a graduate transfer? They have enough credits to graduate already? Like there's the one that stands out to me is there's a redshirt sophomore for Louisville.
Graduated.
Yeah. I'm like, how did you graduate in 2.5 years?
Man's on his books.
That's crazy. I mean, good for him, but yeah, the portal's open. I'm going to tell you right now who I think the best quarterback in the portal is.
Who?
John Mateer.
Who?
John Mateer.
No idea.
Washington State's quarterback. Formerly Washington State's quarterback. I think a lot of people are...
Malik Murphy,
yeah. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the portal now. I think a lot of people are overrating a ton of quarterbacks that, like Connor Wigman, Miller Moss, Jackson Arnold. I think they're being overrated right now. I think...
Thomas Castellanos in the portal.
He's going to Florida State.
Oh, is he?
Oh, yeah. People have been saying that for a week and a half. Castellanos is going to Florida State.
It's a good get.
More news that it could involve the portal. We'll see. Cam Rising's not coming back to Utah.
Where the heck is he gonna go?
It depends on if he wants to play football at all.
Well,
because he hasn't officially put his name in the portal.
Well, in theory, let's say he does.
Yeah.
Would you go get him?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
So he can play 2 games and snap his leg?
I would get in Louisville's position. I'm a Louisville fan. We've talked about Louisville a lot this episode.
Yeah, we have.
I would get Cam Rising. I would absolutely do it. I think he is talent-wise one of the better quarterbacks in the portal if he puts his name in the portal. And so, yeah, Tyler Van Dyke is also in the portal.
Ooh.
I just think it's interesting. He was at Miami for 3 years, and then he went to Wisconsin, and now he's putting his name back in the portal. He is a guy that actually, literally, as soon as he got benched by Miami, reached out to Louisville's coaching staff and was like, I want to play for you guys next year. And they're like, okay. And then the guy that he got benched for broke his leg or his arm or whatever, and then he had to play, and then he ended up playing incredible against Louisville. Wasn't enough for the staff to take him.
Huh.
But I don't know. I don't think there are a lot of very good quarterbacks in the portal. So I think if you're a quarterback-needy team, this is not the best year for you.
Mm.
But it's interesting. Jalen Daniels also, by the way, is returning to Kansas for his final year of eligibility.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you think you can trust him?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think they figured it out towards the end of the year. They started to win games that they should have started to win. If they can get some piece, Time will tell as far as like what's being brought in through the portal and stuff. But Lance Leipold's a good coach.
Yeah.
All the games that they were in, they were competitive in. It's just a lot of one.
Yeah, they only
score
lost.
games that didn't go their way.
They only lost 2 games by more than 1 possession.
Right. So.
On to basketball, and then we'll do the pick'ems.
Mm-hmm.
So AJ.
Yeah.
Does anyone know how to pronounce his last
I
name?
mean, you have a me moment there.
I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like Debonsa or something like that.
I mean, we could literally listen to a clip.
I don't want to do that.
Okay, then we won't do that. But
Yeah, the number 1 recruit in the 2025 recruiting class for basketball. He just committed.
To
Like,
BYU.
yeah. Which is crazy. We talked about it. I mean, we brought it up on the show how
He narrowed it down.
he did narrow it down, but also BYU.
The Utah Jazz.
A lot of people in the front office for the Utah Jazz were putting together a huge NIL package for him to go to BYU.
Which is kind of like...
It's kind of crazy, but I mean, they did it as individuals and not as like an organization. It's like it's not technically the Utah Jazz paying for him to go to BYU, but it's the personnel. Like it feels weird.
It's like... It's... No, because it is the Utah Jazz paying for him to go to BYU. Because it's the employees of the Utah Jazz, and they're using their money that they receive from their employment.
Okay, no, that's not the Jazz doing it.
I mean, if you think about it that way.
If one of the front office guys goes to the red light district in Amsterdam, that doesn't mean the Utah Jazz went to the red light district.
That's quite a stretch.
No, it's not. It's the same exact logic that you just used.
But it's multitude of, you know what I'm saying?
It's not the same. It's the same logic you use. There's just more variables there.
I just also wonder, like, is it just because they want to see the guy play close, or are they just fans of BYU?
I feel like they are fans of BYU.
Like, is it a fan initiative? Is it like what's the motive behind? They just got to be fans.
That's my theory, is that they're just fans.
Okay,
But
or maybe
that's huge for BYU. Kevin Young, boy, he is showing himself to be a good recruiter.
yeah.
I mean,
It does help when you have the Utah Jazz behind you.
Yeah.
Or my bad, the employees of the Utah Jazz.
Yeah. Yeah. Kevin Young, he left the Suns at the perfect time because they pretty soon after he left, they just fired the entire staff.
They did. Monty Williams got out of Dodge.
No, that wasn't Monty Williams. It was Frank Vogel's staff.
Oh, it was Vogel's staff.
Which Vogel was one of the candidates that Kentucky tried to get, and he was like, "Nah, I'm not interested." And then he got fired, and it's like, okay. I mean, you could have been UK's coach, whatever.
Well, speaking of UK now, good transition.
Yeah,
The Week 6 AP poll is out
for college basketball.
for college men's basketball. And if there's one thing anybody knows about the Week 6 college AP poll is that there is a national champion in here. Since 2004,
Yeah.
of the Week 6 college AP
Yeah, the
poll,
03-04 season.
03-04 season, when these Week 6 of the AP polls come out, there's been the national champion in this poll. I think part of the reason
In the
for
top 12 of this poll.
in the top 12 of this poll. I think the part of the reason for this is because we are just finished all of the
The MTEs.
MTEs as well as like just like non-conference play. Like
A lot of non-conference play.
there's not too much left, but there is some left. Some conference
Yeah.
play has already started now, but it's really where you kind of get a feel for like which teams have been tested, haven't been tested, and you kind of feel out where we're starting to get a sense of like which teams are actually contenders and pretenders.
And also, the way I look at it is that if you're ranked this highly this early in the season, then there's a level of like, okay, they have talent.
Yeah.
So sometimes in the tournament, it just comes down to like, who can go get a bucket for you? Who can go get a stop? And these teams have the talent because they were enough on people's radar in the beginning of the year to warrant a high ranking when the sample size is so small.
That, or they've also played their way in. Like I would argue, like a team like Florida and Oregon. So here are the top 12 here. It is the current ranking right now is Tennessee, Auburn, Iowa State, Duke, UK or Kentucky, Marquette, Alabama, Gonzaga, Florida, Kansas, Purdue, and Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's, outside of like Florida and Oregon, all those teams were kind of up there, kind of stayed up there preseason-wise, whereas Oregon and Florida have kind of played their way up towards that. Notable teams that are out of it are
Kentucky's played their way up. They were ranked like 23rd preseason.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Houston, UConn, we'll say is notable. Us preseason, we had Baylor very high. They played their way out of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think, looking at this, I'm like, yeah, all these teams probably have a shot to win the national championship. I would lean.
You typically, there's, give or take, there's usually only 8 teams that can win a championship in basketball.
I think these are the 8.
Well, you know what you're saying, but like, you see, there's also other stats that the winner of the national championship has always made it to their conference tournaments semifinals or further. I think that's another good data point to show who's playing well at the right time.
That too. But also there's something to be said about being ranked at the week 6 and then also playing well towards the end. It's like,
yeah,
there has to be consistency
Yes.
throughout the entire season. So
Mhm.
like, we'll see out of these 12 teams who is playing well come March. But as it currently stands, one of these teams will be your national champion if the last 20 years says anything about it.
Yeah, and the thing is, history doesn't always repeat. Like, this trend could get bucked, but like,
It could.
I do think it is a good indicator of who has a shot, especially the one with, like, you have to make your conference semifinal. I think that's a better indicator, personally. But if you couple those, I think those are really good. So, I mean, this is the short list, basically.
Yeah, more or less.
All right. So, you want to do the pick'ems? Let's do it.
I unfortunately do not know any of these teams and have not watched a single ounce of FCS ball.
You haven't watched an ounce? Oh,
Not an
man.
ounce, not a second.
Not even, like, highlights?
Not even
Clips?
a second.
All right.
I'm going off of brand recognition is what we're doing here.
You're doing vibes and vibes alone.
Yes.
Okay. Last year, I was perfect when it came to the quarterfinals. I called it perfectly, I believe. Anyway, so we're gonna do our pick'ems. We've only got 6 games. We got all 4 FCS quarterfinals. We have a bowl game, and then of course the Thompson Cup. So we'll start off with the FCS semis or quarters. This is the only Friday game. We got Idaho versus Montana State.
Well, I gotta pick my Idaho boys, like always.
You're picking Joe Vandal and the boys?
Absolutely.
Are you really?
Why wouldn't I? Absolutely.
I forgot that's why you picked them last year.
Oh my goodness.
Didn't they also lost?
Yeah. And let me
They
tell you,
lost the game you picked them.
and let me tell you, as you said, history doesn't always repeat itself, okay?
All right.
And so, look, let's go, Idaho. Let's get it
But
done.
last year they were like the 4 seed and they lost to the 5
And
seed.
now
Now they're the
they're
8 seed and they're going to lose to Montana State, who is clearly the best team.
Upsets happen.
I'm taking Montana State.
Also.
Next up, we have Incarnate Word versus South Dakota State.
Well, it's South Dakota State, obviously. They just beat North Dakota State, you said earlier.
South Dakota did.
Oh. Well, throw a state on there, and might as well, they can get it done too. Incarnate World, what world are they living in?
Word.
Word. South Dakota State's going to win.
Yes, they will. South Dakota State's going to win. Next up, we have UC Davis versus South Dakota.
Well, you just said South Dakota beat North Dakota State a week or two ago. I gotta go South Dakota.
I'm going to take UC Davis.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the final match of the FCS playoffs, we got Mercer versus North Dakota State.
Well, North Dakota State, this is their division. Like, it's theirs to lose year in and year out. Give me North Dakota State.
I think this game's going to be close, but I think North Dakota State's going to win.
All right.
All right.
So-
Next up, we have the Veterans Bowl between South Alabama and Western Michigan.
Where is this played?
I don't know.
Veterans Bowl.
It's probably on, like, the campus of one of the military academies.
It is being played
venue. This is taking forever.
Where?
City of Montgomery, Alabama.
Montgomery, Alabama. Okay.
So, with that being said, give me Southern Alabama.
I'm also taking Southern Alabama. I think it's because they have. So both of these teams are 6-6, and I think Mac sucks.
Word.
I think Mac is so bad.
Screw you, Mac.
Yeah. So give me South Alabama. Next is our final game.
Hey.
Army versus Navy. It's the Thompson Cup. Most people don't know about that. Everyone just calls it the Army-Navy game.
There you go.
This is the last one that Biden's going to go to. After that, it's Jover. Biden. Who you got? Who you got? Army or Navy?
So I'll be cheering for Navy, but it's Army.
Yeah, Army's going to win.
Army's going to win, but I'll be cheering for Navy. I've been Navy.
I feel like Navy's the more popular for the majority of people.
I just have buddies who are in the Navy, as well as like just family who was Marines and stuff like that. So I have a closer connection to Navy.
Well, the Marines aren't the Navy. It's a separate division.
Well, yeah, I'm aware, but it's also like SEALs and stuff.
Okay.
That's what I meant to say.
Navy SEALs? Okay.
I don't know. I've just always cheered for Navy.
I don't think I know anyone in the Navy. Actually, I know my girlfriend's grandfather was in the Navy when he was younger. My grandfather was in the Air Force.
My mother was in the Air Force.
My cousin was in the Army.
How about that?
Yeah. But I've always liked Navy more just because I think I like the colors a lot more.
You like that Navy, huh?
Yes. But anyway, that's our pick'ems.
That is.
That's our show.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed it. And go Cards.
Yeah.